In the previous video, I discussed how I created the first version of a new economic model called contributionism, which is about how you structure organizations. And after finishing that model, I immediately wanted to look for other ideas and whether anyone else had come to the same conclusions as me about the flawed approach to adopt permanent share structures. So I looked far and wide across the internet on Google, YouTube, ChatGPT, and anything else to look for any overlapping ideas or interesting theories. Now, I didn't find anything that had come to the same conclusions as me about the problems with the permanence of shares, but I did learn about some economists with some very different and some very compelling ideas. One of the popular diagrams that you're going to find in economic videos and elsewhere on the internet involves this political compass, which involves this left to right ideology and authoritarian to libertarian leaning ideas. Now, broadly speaking, I'm not a huge fan of using this approach for thinking about economic systems. And instead, I think it's better to broadly focus on systems and each of those economic systems separately, such as money, government, organizations, and land. And then think about how those systems could be governed and how they could function. But this diagram is still useful for grouping together and learning about a range of these different ideas. And a number of people have taken this image and diagram and then applied a wide range of economic theories to the diagram. And this was particularly useful for getting a long list of ideas and then going through each of them quickly. I'll link a video below which goes through a number of those ideas across a number of different videos. Now, after going through and reading about each of these quickly online to get a good summary of what was being proposed, I came across Georgism. Now, given my name is George, it was pretty obvious to me that this was going to be a pretty good economic model.
That's the joke.
You suck, McBain!
Though, jokes aside, Georgism comes from Henry George, who was an economist from the late 1800s. And after doing all of this economic research, his ideas were some of the most compelling ones that I could find. And the ideas were focused on land, such as how it should be understood and taxed. And after learning more about his ideas, I agreed with his analysis, and that this was going to be an important part of fixing the economy. Now, thankfully, there's already quite a lot of content about Georgism already. It's an idea that a number of people now already understand, and a number of people are already actively trying to promote and implement solutions across the world. And I'll link to some of those videos and resources below. And of course, I'd highly recommend watching those and any others you could find on this topic. But let's go through his ideas briefly. So Henry George made a clear distinction between land and capital. For land, this included all natural opportunities, so locations, resources, and even things like airwaves. For capital, this included everything that we make, so tools, buildings, and machines. Henry then compared land and capital. Land is fixed. We can't produce more beachfronts or mountains. And capital is reproducible. If making capital is profitable, people can choose to build more of it. No one produced land, and the value of land represents the potential of future rent on that land. Whereas capital is different. It has to be created. So its value represents compensation for saving, contribution effort, and risk-taking. As towns and cities grow and improve, the value of the best located land increases, even if the owner does absolutely nothing. Those gains flow to landowners and not to the community of workers and entrepreneurs who actually expanded production and improved those local areas. So Henry's solution to this problem was simple. The community should capture this land rent through a land value tax. A community is who should benefit from the increased value of the land. And this makes sense as increases in land value is due to the collective contributions from the community. So it shouldn't be specific individuals who are going to benefit from other people's contributions. Landowners shouldn't be the main beneficiaries from community contributions. The rental income that landowners receive is not earned due to their labor or risk taking. It is due to the value of the land, and increases in that value are due to community contributions. As well as identifying these differences between land and capital, Henry George was also an advocate for removing taxes on labor and capital creation. And his thoughts were that communities should be able to solely rely on land value taxes. And broadly, this argument has a decent amount of merit, as if you tax labor and capital, you'll get less of it. I'll do a dedicated video on that topic area soon. Now, there's more we could talk about with these ideas, though let's save that for future videos. For now, what I can say is these ideas are going to be an important part of fixing the global economy. And this was a really important part of the journey for me to learn about the most compelling economic ideas. And there's another economic model that I also want to talk about. So I'll see you in the next one.